SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
William Carey University Athletics.
Every sport you find exciting.
Crusader Talk.
Crusader Talk. And now.
This is Crusader Talk. Crusader Talk. We're covering everything William Carey University Athletics. From the field to the court and the diamond on SuperTalk Hattiesburg 97.3 and SuperTalkHattiesburg.com.
And welcome into Crusader Talk. Glad to be with you on this Monday evening. Caleb Hamill, Josh West, Dalton Stanford behind the board, making all this happen for you on this live radio program. Josh, I've learned something over this weekend, and that is, do not doubt. I'm a Christian through and through. I'm not one to, put stock in mystical powers, but I got to tell you something. Puxatawny Phil knew what he was talking about. 6 weeks removed from February 2nd, we're still in winter.
Oh, we are still in winter.
We are still in winter.
I had no idea which way you were going with that. I thought you were going to...
I got to keep you on your toes.
I thought you were going to congratulate me on the fact that I never gave up on the Crusaders against Xavier.
I was going to congratulate you on the fact that you made it here from Kentucky over the weekend.
Man, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. And as great as it was for the guys, it's as disappointing as it was, heartbreaking as it was for the ladies. We'll talk all about that. But, just a really cool weekend. Great to be up in Kentucky. It was beautiful. It was warm. And we got out of Kentucky before the cold weather.
Yeah.
Were they getting snow today, like legit snow today, or were they just getting thunderstorms?
I don't know if it made it up there or not. I know that it was in Arkansas yesterday a little bit, which that was probably more rain, but maybe towards the Ozarks a little bit of snow. But, yeah, up and down the northeastern part of Mississippi today, some flurries.
I was there. I was in it. I got the flurries.
There were some in northern Alabama, too, from what I heard.
I got
around Huntsville.
I got the flurries. Yep, I saw the flurries today in Corinth walking to my vehicle. So go figure. Go figure.
That's right. Well, we are chilly tonight, but, hey, we are rotating out of the winter sports, and we are about to focus our full attention on everything spring-related at William Carey, as unfortunately for us all, the basketball season has come to an end for both the men's and women's programs. Josh got to be out in Williamsburg, Kentucky to watch the men's contests. Women fall in the opening game against, help me out here, Shawnee State.
Shawnee State.
Yeah, who ended up winning that region, by the way. So they are moving on to the final site for the women's bracket. But all in all, this was just to give some backstory of the way I consumed it. When I was busy with the Faulkner games over at Milton Wheeler Field, William Carey and Faulkner facing off against each other in conference play, and we had both the Xavier William Carey men's game on, and then later on the women's game, which followed. And even though we had wrapped up on Friday night, we were still just staying in the booth just to watch the finish of Carey and Shawnee State. But we had Director of Athletics Tracy English in the booth with us, and of course, he's watching as a coach, and he's seeing all the different things, ins and outs, different player strengths and weaknesses on display. And it's kind of honestly really cool to get to watch a basketball game with him as a spectator, just getting to hear the way he sees the game. But all in all, we were also equally fans in that moment. And again, watching both those contests, we were in the middle of the baseball game during the men's basketball finish. But the one quote that I'll misquote him, but I'll get the gist of it, what he said about the women's tournament. And he said, everything from this point forward is a bonus because of what they're doing without Chanel Corpuz.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah, and there's a lot of truth in that. And not to say that this team is nothing without Chanel, because we've seen very good evidence that they can be successful without their number one player. But at the same time, to compete at that national level in the national tournament, her success got you to the point that you were in the tournament at large. Actually as an automatic bid because of the tournament win. But
would have been in at large.
Yeah, would have been in at large.
Yeah, after they won the first game in the conference tournament, that was a lock.
Yeah. But all that said, to be in the tournament was a blessing. To win the SSAC tournament was an enormous blessing. And to have done anything winning-wise in the NAIA tournament would have just been absolute icing on the cake, cherry on top. To make it to the final site would be unheard of. But just a great effort by them against, again, the eventual winners of that opening round site in Shawnee State. 1 point away. Let's just go ahead and call it what it is. 1 call away from that being a completely different game. Yeah, Carey had, let's put it in perspective, Carey had several opportunities down the stretch to really put that game away. Had a chance to make a layup or two right underneath the basket, could not connect. Had a chance at free throws to expand a lead, didn't happen. What happens? Shawnee State comes down, they make a pair of free throws, they take the lead by a point, and then Carey comes down the floor in the final 30 seconds of the game, a chance to take the lead with a 2, and they – actually, I think it would have been a tie maybe.
It would have tied the game at 74.
That's what it was.
But then you would have had so much momentum.
Yes. So you drive down the floor, and I've already had – is Leah Sutton has the ball, and she's driving down the right lane line, puts up a contested layup, and gets fouled, at least we think. But it turns out they call her for the charge when her defender had barely even reached the spot in which contact was made, feet were sliding into position, was never set, but the official said, no, charge. And she made that basket, if I remember right, correct? Or did she not?
She made it.
Yeah, she made it and would have had an N1 free throw coming.
Now, and Carey's super fan, Bruce Karsh, who officiated, said if you don't know the call, sell it. If you don't see it, you got to sell it. And if you go back and watch that,
that guy sold it.
That guy sold it. There was no hesitation. He was, so quick on the whistle.
He was right there on the baseline.
So quick punching the other way, though. Almost as if he was looking for the charge.
Yeah.
It was
a little bit.
How can you not look for a block charge call in that? But there was not a whistle and then the call. It was almost as if the real emphatic step forward and there was a lean. It was a really just devastating call.
Well, let me ask you this. Were you listening to it live or were you just watching?
No, we were all sitting in. So it was Eric Burt, myself, Bruce. We're all in Williamsburg in Huddle House.
Uh-huh.
We got the laptop out. We got the phone out. And
so you don't have the audio cut on?
No. So we thought we had tied it.
Yeah. So here's the thing: the broadcaster over there at the opening round site, he called it as a foul and 1, because with the immediacy of how that official made that call, sometimes the punch for a charge can look very similar to a drop. Point down, count the basket.
Yes.
And he thought because of the way that it was called, so immediate, it was a count the bucket call. And it wasn't until 5, 6, 7 seconds later that he goes, oh, no, they've called a charge. In which case, all of us up here, we had just, in the booth at baseball, just turned on the audio. We had been watching it silent for forever until we finally realized, what our issue was to listen. And we were just appalled. And then looking at the replay, again, we just see the feet sliding into position as the call's being made. We're just
Do you have any further insight to the nature of what is reviewable in NAIA? Because it's pretty limited review capabilities.
Yeah, anything as far as a judgment call block charge is out the window.
Sure.
Now, I only know things roughly in the NCAA realm of what's reviewable, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty much in lockstep because all the rule books are together. So you can review an out of bounds. You can review possible flagrant fouls. You can review 2 versus 3, if a toe's on the line or not. And that's about it.
Yeah.
You can't really have a reverse personal foul call. I think there may be some line of if they get it on the wrong person, they may be able to go back to the monitor and check and see, hey, did I accidentally say 2? I meant 5.
No, go review it. He wasn't even near the play. Yeah.
Yeah. But that may not be right. I may be a step too far in the review process with that. That may be a wish list thing and not an actual thing. But still, you hate it because it goes against Carey. If it happened the other way around, we would be talking all day long about, man, what a win for William Carey. Not even thinking about the bang-bang call there. Never judging it with a microscope like we are now. But at the end of the day, you hate to see a season come to an end like that.
Yeah, that's if there's ever a time to swallow the whistle, you just swallow the whistle. You got to call something there, though. There was so much contact, you had to call block or charge. Would have been a almost impossible play not to have made a call, period. It's either a block or a charge. And to get it wrong is tough. That is tough. 24 wins, though. Tournament championship for the ladies. Incredible season considering the adversity they went through and the mix-ups of the lineup this year. And they've got a chance to be even better next year.
That's right. Like, I want to get the full scoop on your experience in Williamsburg. I know the second game will kind of glaze over that one because Carey didn't end up making it through to the final site. But still, the dramatics of a win over future conference opponent Xavier is one that we cannot gloss over. So we're going to recap that one in full coming up in our next segment. We'll get to baseball, softball, the whole gambit recap when we continue on to Crusader Talk. Stay with us.
You're tuned in to Crusader Talk on SuperTalk Hattiesburg 97.3 and SuperTalkHattiesburg.com.
All right, back here on Crusader Talk. Glad to be with you. Caleb Hamill, Josh West, Dalton Staver behind the board. Talking all recapping of basketball action over the past weekend as William Carey men and women both wrapped up their seasons in the opening round of the NAIA tournament. Women losing in the first round matchup against Shawnee State. Men's team, though, had some success through adversity at that. Josh West was on the call for that. And Josh, I just got to get your take on this. One, good operation over there at the University of the Cumberlands?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a beautiful facility. To me, they listed capacity a little smaller than what they could actually fit, but all chairbacks. That facility was opened in 1990.
Ooh.
And if you got a chance to listen to some of the broadcasts and you got a chance to, or if you watched and listened or vice versa, I actually dug out that 1989 box score.
They put it on the air,
They put it on the air. Kevin pulled that out. Kevin and I pulled that out. So, and that was back in November of 1989. There was a skinny little freshman out of Franklin, Louisiana named LaRon Brumfield that played in that game. He had 2 points and 5 rebounds. I think we know him.
I think I've heard of him.
And Carey won that game, by the way, 72-66. The only other meeting prior to Saturday was back in the 1961-62 season. So that would have been back in 1961. It's a really neat place. Beautiful little setting nestled in the mountains there. They have 25,000 online students.
That's a lot.
The most you will pay to go to school there for a semester is $4,000. That is the most you will pay for a semester. But
do they have free books for all freshmen?
They're offering full scholarships for the players, for all their players. So they've got something going on that I know is the type of mindset that Carey looks at too, right? Carey's looking in that same direction of how do we make this more affordable? How do we capitalize on the opportunity to reach first-time students? A lot of low-income students there. They're going after that local, low-income Kentucky student there. And I just say all that to say really good people, tons of respect for Carey, appreciated that they were getting to play us in basketball because they've played us in so many other sports.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got to see them play Carey in baseball up in Lewiston a couple years back. Obviously, the women's soccer national championship match comes to mind as well, and several other meetings with the Patriots from Cumberland's.
Well, you wanted to know about the facility, though. So it opens in 90. We were invited by the coach at the time to open up that facility. And it's not Vernon, maybe. It's a million names rattling through my head. So Coach Randy invited, Steve, I want you to come open up in our tournament next year. Okay. So we show up and it's not done. And so we play in the old gym and we win the tournament. which is pretty cool. 1989. So Carey goes over there and wins the tournament, and they're just far enough away. 580 miles, especially with the new federal guidelines in terms of 500 miles is all that you can travel in one day, that bus, unless you have two drivers. Mm-hmm. It makes it a 2-day trip. It's just not feasible for regular season. So it's got to be a postseason tournament. But I also told them, you'll love this. They had Chick-fil-A in their hospitality room. Just all you
that
can
is
eat,
doing it right.
All you can eat Chick-fil-A. They're like, get all you want.
I'm taking mental notes here. If we renovate Clinton Gym or build a new facility, hospitality room,
Chick-fil-A, please sponsor us. No, but it was really well done. And I just said, look, I hope it's not another, almost 40 years before we're back up here, because that was first class, and I know our guys enjoyed the experience as a whole.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the game.
Oh.
The game.
No, which one?
The good one. The good result. The first one.
It is the polar opposites. You want 180-degree games, you got two total opposite games.
Yeah, we won't talk about the one where Carey started off, with 3 points when Cumberland's had gathered like 25 or whatever the deficit was in the second game. But let's talk about what it took to get to that one.
Yeah, Xavier what a game. Carey jumped out up 16 in that game. It was a game of runs between the two teams. Xavier got some momentum late in that first half, went on a 7-0 run, cut it to 7 at the half. And Carey, it wasn't tied again. It was tied at 0. Then it was tied at 51. Then all of a sudden, Carey's down 8. Then Carey's down 10. And there was a point guard for Xavier who was lights out in that game.
Please tell me he's a senior.
Yes, he was a senior, first team All Red River Conference, and I'm gonna give you his name real quick.
I know you got to find that chart that's buried in the file somewhere.
Was a really good guard, and so I'm pulling it up here. And for Bentraven Phillips, senior out of Lafayette, Bentraven wanted to come to Carey. Really. So as much as Carey was, recruited him, he was in PJ's ear wanting to come here, and for whatever reason, we passed on him. Now, this all comes out in the post game, okay, from Coach Knight. That would make a little sense because this guy was on a mission. We could not stay in front of him. Well, he fouls out with around 3 minutes to go in the game. And so me being the optimist as I always am, and having watched this team play for years now, up close and personal, hey, it's never over. It's never over. But I kind of reference it to like that standing 10 count. We were at 7, 8. They're about to wave the fight off.
Right.
It got to 9. And that's when Carey hit a 3 and then got a steal and a bucket. Now it's 5. Then get a missed free throw and get another bucket. Now it's a 3-point game. Then they make 1 of 2. Then we come down and score. Now it's a 2-point game. We force a turnover when it's 87-85. And
keep in mind, this is a 9-point lead for Xavier.
Under 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
So you just heard 3. They miss a couple free throws. Front end of a 1-and-1. Then only get 1 of 2. So that's 3 missed points on the board. So it's 87-85. 40 seconds left. Carey forces a turnover. Now Carey's getting the ball with 35 seconds left. Down 2. And you're like, wait a minute. This could actually happen.
That's right. You could. And we'll play back the audio file for us. And this is going to be the conglomeration of Carey taking the lead. And I know, spoiler, Carey takes the lead and then hold on to win it as Xavier had one final desperation shot. So let's listen to the moment there from Williamsburg, Kentucky.
Roberts driving the lane, pulls up over Dean with a shot, no good. Rebound tipped up, no. It's still loose. Robinson gets it back. Robinson goes out to Roberts. Roberts bobbled it to Dunn. This for the lead. It's up and good! Troy Dunn at dagger 3 and carries up 88-87. Ball not loose. Diving on the floor. It's still loose. Carey trying to get a steal. Timeout for Xavier with 6.2 seconds left. William Carey 88, Xavier 87. Pass comes in to Dean. Roberts is there. Pass. The catch by Pichon. Guarded by Jenkins. Pass inside. Randall Boucher. He'll shoot over Hughes. No good. Carey wins. Carey's won it. And it sets off a raucous celebration here in Williamsburg, Kentucky. Carey was down by 9, and Carey wins it 88-87. And Carey cannot believe it, yet they're as excited as they have been all season long. They deal heartbreak to Xavier, and so now Carey will take on University at Cumberland's tomorrow. They've got a 4 o'clock matchup.
So that was about as excited I think I've ever heard you on a call, but that was one of the most exciting moments that you've been a part of.
The exuberance of that moment. We weren't out, but we were down. It wasn't impossible, but it was certainly improbable. And to do that in a year where they've done so many of those things.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a team that ties the school record for wins. That ties. Again, you didn't even get a chance to mention, Carey wins. They're on it tomorrow. They tie the school record for wins. Tying the school record for wins was just an afterthought.
Oh, sure.
To that moment. And then you come right back from the break. You're coming in from the next commercial. Oh, by the way, this team now moves into elite company as one of 2 teams now to set the school record for wins at 28. And what a unique group to do it. Tallest guy, 6'6". Group of 5 seniors. Carey played the same starting 5 all season long. That's just remarkable.
That's unheard of because of just the nature of college basketball. Somebody's going to be off on a given day or have a little downward streak. You have to bring up the next guy to play at the 4 or the 5 or maybe your point guards. Yeah, something. But that I did not realize that. But I wanted to elaborate on a point you mentioned. This team has been used to comebacks this season. I think back to the Tennessee Southern game in which you told me they were down at one point of the game by 22. And they find a way to just surmount that in the second half and just come back on, which they had, I think, a late first half surge to try to get back in that. But at the same time, to overcome any 20-plus deficit is elite.
There was a 42-point turnaround in that game at one point. Carey went from down 22 to up 20. That's remarkable.
Yeah. And as we've seen with Carey all year long, just no quit in them. Even in the matchup against the Cumberlands in the final game that they would play, still fought back.
Yeah,
still
down
tried.
29, cut it to 14.
Yeah, and just could not quite get over that hump to finish the deal. But man, hats off to Coach Knight and those guys for a terrific season. PJ, Burt, the whole crew that really helped guide this ship in to its port of the NAIA National Tournament. So, hey, didn't get to the final site this year, but maybe setting the table for something to come maybe here soon. Still more to come. Got to recap the baseball action. Big SSAC series from the weekend to talk about. Also, softball started SSAC play. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Talking everything William Carey University athletics. This is Crusader Talk on SuperTalk Hattiesburg 97.3 and SuperTalkHattiesburg.com.
All right, continuing on, talking about the bat and ball sports now. As we'll talk about baseball and softball. So we congratulate both Coach Jessica Garriga and Coach Steve Knight on terrific years on the hardwood. We'll see what happens next year. A lot of personnel to figure out, a lot of holes maybe to fill from guys that are graduating, especially on the men's side. But now to talk about baseball. Big series on the weekend against a Faulkner team which had a 13th overall rank in the country. William Carey came in at 15th. Now, Carey has the better record coming into the weekend. Just tougher competition, I think, on the front end for Faulkner. But, guys, first game was a huge show out by William Carey. Especially once you got to inning number 5. It was a bit of a back-and-forth affair. Carey got the early punch with a run scored in the second inning. And then Faulkner comes back with a fourth inning where they pieced together a couple runs, a solo shot home run from Edria Martinez. Great player, by the way. Good extra base hits on the weekend. And then follow that up with piecing together a run with C.J. Robertson. But all in all, terrific start from Matthew Davis. Could not ask for much better of one. 7 innings. He gave up 3 runs, but never walked a batter and struck out 10.
That's the Matthew Davis they're looking for moving forward.
That is absolutely the starting pitcher that William Carey has been needing to excel this year.
From what you know now, where does that put him with that type of performance in terms of the elite talent, in terms of weekend starters in the league right now?
He's a true Friday night guy. When he's performing like that at that level, he is an ace when it comes to getting guys out, sometimes pitching to contact to help get that pitch count down. But through just 103 pitches through 7 innings, which is a great average to have when it comes to the spread across your outing.
That's about 14 pitches an inning.
And to think you have 10 strikeouts to go with that. Strikeouts, they're great, but they eat up pitches.
Yes, they do.
They really do. But the command was there for Davis. It really was. Now, I say, did not walk a batter. He did hit 2. But all that said, if you take away hit batsmen and replace them as walks, a 10-2 strikeout to walk ratio is still good. Really good. Now, that said, starting pitching was the strength of Carey for that game. Relief pitching as the weekend went on turned out to be one of the weaknesses. So game 1, Carey wins by the final of 10-3. Terrific performances at the plate against Faulkner starter Samir Rojas, who was a repeat competitor from last year. But he gets his first loss of the year, going just 4 1/3 innings, giving up 6 runs in that game, 5 of them happening in inning number 5. But that said, you move on into the weekend. You got the advantage coming into the doubleheader on Saturday. And give credit where credit's due. Where Carey had Matthew Davis go on Friday night, Faulkner follows it up with Brandon Napier. And Napier goes the full 7 of that shortened ball game, gave up just 4 hits, 3 runs, only one of which was earned, by the way, 6 strikeouts, 5 walks, and held Carey to 3 runs at a 10-3 finish for Faulkner. Now, loss went to Everett Thompson. He gives up 4 runs. Not his best, but not his worst outing either. Did not walk any batters, struck out 4. A couple wild pitches hurt him in his outing, but all in all, it was really just the hits for Faulkner. They had 7 against him, and then just, not to say they cruised to victory, because it was tight. Honestly, it was a tie game there late in that ball game as we moved on into inning number 5. So it's late for a 7-inning game. It was – I take that back. It was not tied, but Carey was within 2 runs. It was a 4-2 lead for Faulkner. And in the 5th inning, they just started pulling away. A 3 spot in the 4th, 3 in the 5th, 3 in the 6th, and they just cruised 10-3 as the final score. But Brandon Napier really, I think, exposed a weakness in Carey's hitting in that he did not have anything that was just really overpowering as far as just a fastball that he had great arm side run that would just blow right by. No, none of that. It was just again, looking from a broadcaster's position, it seems a lot more simple than it is. But he just had a breaking ball that he would go to more than his fastball. I'm talking about 70% breaking ball, just true top-down action, and it would drop in right there at the top of the zone. It was, not to say he was a one-trick pony, but that's all he was throwing for the late parts of those innings, and it just nobody could figure it out.
Yeah, so if it's a good trick, I mean, if you're getting it over for a strike, and if they can't touch it, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And that's it. And so I think there may be some conversation about how do you in-game adjust to a pitcher like that, because most pitchers work off of their fastball. The fastball is what gets them ahead in counts. It's what gets them set up for their strikeout pitch. Napier was using his breaking ball like that. His breaking ball turned into his fastball. It turned into his go-to pitch. And as a hitter, if you're sitting fastball and just waiting for that pitch to come, if you get ahead in the count, you were never going to get that from him. His fastball was what he got as an intermediate one. So you almost as a hitter have to change that entire mindset to think, I'm expecting this breaking ball to come, so I have to expect my body to slow down to meet that pitch. And if it's a fastball, either maybe I can swat at it to just get a piece of it if I have 2 strikes and live to see another, or I just give up and just let the fastball go by and expect the breaking ball next time. but that just didn't happen. The adjustment never came, and he gets the full 7-inning win there in the first game of the doubleheader, which even the series, 1 game apiece for each side. So that's what brings us to Game 3. And this was the back-and-forth affair. This is where Carey strikes first, leading 1-0. Faulkner puts up a 3 spot in the top of the second. But Carey, being the diligent bunch they are, plate 4 runs in the bottom of the 3rd inning. A big triple from Taylor Walters really helped that cause, clearing the bases, scoring 3 runs to give Carey back the lead at 5-3. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because what happened is Josh McCord pitches in the 4th inning. And I'm a bit long-winded here, but there's a reason why this is going to play out for the rest of this week. He enters the top of the 4th, walks the first batter, and gets a double play on the next guy. So, you get rid of that thread as Faulkner is, getting the tying run to the plate. Well, then after he strikes out Orlando Ariano, Josh McCord says something to which I will not repeat due to FCC regulations to said hitter on his way off the mound.
Yeah.
And it caused an immediate stir amongst the people on the field, and the umpires got together and recognized that what he said is not something that they can just give a warning for because of either decisions passed down to them or the instructions that they've been given regarding keeping play at an even keel, making sure nothing gets too heightened, resulted in an immediate ejection of McCord, who had just gotten Carey settled back in with a lead, worked a clean inning after the leadoff walk, getting the double play and then the strikeout. And all of a sudden, not only do you lose him for the rest of this game, but you lose him for the next 4, as I understand the rule book.
So you lose him for a week.
So you lose him for his next start, which would have been Game 3 against Bruton Parker this weekend. So the earliest you could see him is going to be on next Tuesday on the road at Southern University at New Orleans, if he plays then. Otherwise, it would be in the weekend set at Mobile. But Carey's already short Holton Hartzog, who is one of those key pitchers that Carey was looking to rely upon for a weekend start. And now all of a sudden McCord's gone as well. You're looking at possibly tomorrow night against LSUA already a Johnny Holstaff type approach, perhaps. And then Sunday, put your hands in the air. Who knows?
Well, you give everybody their bullpen, right?
Tomorrow. That's when you're hoping.
That's tomorrow. That's tomorrow.
Yeah, that's when you start hoping.
Tuesday.
You start hoping that perhaps you can, on Friday per se, maybe get another great start for Matthew Davis. Maybe you get the run rule there, so you don't even have to go to the bullpen after 7. Maybe in Saturday's game, Everett Thompson has a good outing. You don't have to use much of the bullpen in that 7-inning game, and then you have the whole bullpen arsenal available for you for Sunday. And again, Carey's been successful against Bruton Parker in the past few years, but it just seems like they never have the full pitching rotation available to them. So that's how it just pays off against Carey moving forward for the week. And by the way, Carey lost that game 8-7.
Well, and when you're penciling the season out, you're penciling in a sweep against Bruton Parker.
Typically,
and you look at the records. Carey 18-9, and that's given away some games they'd love to have back in a sense. Bruton Parker 10-18. So that's one you really. Well, first of all, you have to win that series.
Right.
And Carey will be still a favorite, and I think still a solid favorite, but you would love to sweep that series. You need to sweep that series because of the lofty expectations that Carey carries with them every year.
I was just trying to tally all this up, by the way, just to get this set in perspective. William Carey is currently on a 20-game win streak against Bruton Parker, if that tells you anything about the history of these two. Last time Carey lost that matchup was back on March 8th, 2019. And prior to 2019, Carey had an 11-game win streak over Bruton Parker.
So what I'm hearing too is that you worry about, you try to make that winning streak 22, and then you just get to Sunday and worry about Sunday, or excuse me, the back end of the doubleheader. You worry about Game 3 at Game 3 time. You don't really try to worry about it too much until then. Got to get those first two, got to get the series, and then go from there.
That's right. And Burton Parker currently is 10-18, 3-6 in SSAC play. They did, though, get a win at Faulkner. They won 11-10 in that finale game, the one in which Faulkner against Cary won 8-7. So keep that in mind.
And also, there are some teams in the league that will save their best arm for Game 3 trying to salvage games.
That's right. So Burton Parker, last time they came to Cary, didn't have their full roster either. They had just gotten off of a weekend series where a fight had broken out. And so they had to have staggered suspension served through the weekend before everybody was back and available for the next game after the series. So a full-strength Burton Parker against a depleted William Carey pitching staff might be a tough recipe. But we'll see. LSUA on Tuesday and then Burton Parker on the weekend. That's what's coming up in baseball. We'll finish up talking about softball when we come back.
From the coaches to the student athletes and the fans that cheer them on, you're listening to Crusader Talk on SuperTalk Hattiesburg 97.3 and SuperTalkHattiesburg.com.
You remember what that means? Got another no-hitter.
Another no-hitter.
Another one, in the words of DJ Khaled. Yeah, that's right. And not Ryan Hornsby this time either. Celebratory no-no song for Jaden Sawyer. 6 innings. Oh, excuse me, I'm looking at the wrong box score from earlier. But 7 innings.
Yes, 7 innings.
9 strikeouts. Did have 3 walks, but a stellar performance against Burton Parker in a 5-0 win back on Friday. And then she followed it up with a 1-hit shutout, 10-0 win for Cary against Abraham Baldwin on Saturday. Just a fantastic weekend in those starts of the game ones of each series.
Yeah, how about her record right now? 9-2, the record for a team that is 17-8. She has just been such a I don't want to say surprise, but it's just the level of her consistency right now. You look at what her numbers are for the year: a 1.14 earned run average. She's got 115 strikeouts against 36 walks. So the second closest to her in terms of strikeouts is Ryan Hornsby with 33. 115 strikeouts. Just remarkable.
And to top that off, in her 1-hit wonder against Abraham Baldwin, she also went 3 for 3 at the plate with a home run.
Yeah, she has been, to this point of the season, without question, the MVP. And it's giving time for other players to get healthy, like Ariana Neiman. So now Neiman's back. Neiman has now had 6 appearances, 4 starts, a 1-1 record, an ERA of 3. But William Carey is going to be in every game. They have a team ERA of 2.02.
It's incredible, the pitching staff that Cary has, and the fact that the bats are doing much better this year. That's it. Dropped a decision to Abraham Baldwin, a 2-1 loss on Saturday. Split the series with them, but all in all, to go 3-1 in your opening SSAC weekend, pretty good, especially on the road at that. So hats off to Coach Hogue and the company of the William Carey softball team, because they are off to a great start. They're 17-8 overall and a 3-1 record so far in SSAC play. And we got a whole bunch of bat and ball coming your way at the Larry W. Kennedy Sports Complex this weekend, with William Carey men hosting Burton Parker over at Milton Wheeler. And then it'll be the twin bill of Thomas University and Point University coming in to play at Fail Field Friday and Saturday.
How do you like the scheduling quirk? I want you to pull up, because I know you haven't done this, and I want to do this kind of this way with the listener. Go pull up the schedule, pull it up in grid view, pull it up in text view.
All right.
And I don't think you will have ever seen a schedule like this. So I want to get your gasp of the schedule when you realize it.
Yeah.
Okay. 14 home games in a row. Cary opened up a little 14-game homestand on Friday. and then they wrap up the season with about 6 to 8 on the road. It's the most. It's usually 2 to 4, and then you rotate home and away, home and away, home and away. Nope, we've got 14 in a row at home, and we wrap up the home portion of the schedule on April 10th.
Now, I will say it is very common to have home pairs for Friday, Saturdays.
Yes.
And then away.
So 4-4, 4-4.
Well. Yeah, so you just finish up the year with 2 weekends of road trip, which at the end of the year it's Blue Mountain and Tennessee Southern, so just kind of North Mississippi, South Tennessee, and then you finish up with Stillman and Mobile on a road trip. So
yeah, the quirk though is that 14 in a row.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
I mean,
I'm certainly with you there.
And then you go back to the start of the season. How many has just been on the road with the tournaments? They're wrapping up a stretch of 13 in a row on the road. Is that right? Because you had to cancel 13 in a row on the road, 14 at home, 8 on the road. Just a little bit different than what you're used to seeing.
Just wanted the weather to warm up for us. Just in time for 20 degrees tonight. Just kidding. It'll be warmer by the weekend, right? Right. Please?
Yes. Maybe. I don't know. I didn't look.
I haven't looked that far ahead either.
I'll say this. Carey 22 in softball right now. Certainly one of the favorites to win the league. Regardless of that, I mean, if they stay in the top, 25, because of Carey, and this is a testament to Coach English and the entire staff, because of our ability to host, what a great job we are to host, got a great chance to be one of those 10 host sites for softball. And same as always, the same for baseball. So there's always hope for more softball at Joseph and Nancy Field and across the way as well, in second week of May.
That's right. By the way, low 80s. So we're in the clear.
So we're going from snow flurries to low 80s.
Oh, yeah. If you don't like Mississippi weather, wait a couple hours. She'll be different before you know it. All right, well, ending it on a high note. The success of softball and a no-hitter for William Carey pitching and
3-1 record.
3-1 record in SSAC play. So once again, get ready for action this weekend coming your way over on campus with a weekend series against Bruton Parker for baseball. Then Thomas and Point coming into town Friday, Saturday for the softball stuff. Beach volleyball has begun their season. We may get a good recap of what's gone on so far with them coming up in our next episode. They've got a lot of road swings going on in their sport as well. Tennis also going on. We can talk about that as well coming up in future episodes. But that's a wrap on basketball season. We're right in the thick of baseball and softball. We look forward to talking about more of that coming up in the next few episodes as well. For Josh and Dalton, I'm Caleb saying until next time, good night, God bless, and go Crusaders.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.